Oleg, design team lead at Experts, and this is second part of my creating a presentation speech. Today we will speak about visuals and slides. But first, I remember that my previous part was about structure and narration. I recommend to watch it, and let's take that you have cool ideas, cool, practical, useful ideas, and you structured them well, and you have a good argument and narration. Now you need to prepare your visuals and slides and other stuff. But what I want to speak today is are they important and how to make them better. First is how they are important. I told about these 3 problems in previous presentation, and textually slides could help you very good with this. For boring, you can make a visual variety. For sleepiness, you can add emotions in your slides, and any weak argument can be enhanced with the clear visuals. Here is Dave Parody. He's a professional presenter and he helps others to present. And as you can see on the right side, it looks strange, and this is not what you want to see right now, probably. But this is all right. This presentation is for reading, not for me as a presenter showing you. And for example, this is another part of his presentation, his research. And here you can see very clear data, and I can comment these top 3 annoyances. But probably I don't need to comment it. And yes, from these 2 parts, 2 types of slides, I want to focus on slides for speaker. And probably some rules can be applied for slides for reading too. So how to make good slides? I have 3 steps for you: visual style, relevant content, and emphasis. Also, it's important to mention that we have Speakers Club's course, and there are very cool presentation from Alena Senina about how to make a visual presentation, how to design presentations. So you can probably enjoy this content separately. But I want to focus on the simple things that you can do, and everyone can make it, can improve his presentation with them. First is visual style. Let's you see 3 images here. What of these 3 is excess? How do you think? You can type in chat. Most of you put 3. Okay, probably it's not very obvious, but for most of the parameters, 3, the last image, third image, is excess. And you can tell it by color, size, shape, and position, and texture. And these 2 images are relevant with this to each other with this, and they can be much more compatible if we fix color and size of the images. And you can tweak any content to be more compatible with each other, or select content if you try to analyze its parameters. And for example, from these 3 images, there are a lot of similarities, probably some differences in color essence and some forms and objects. But these 2 images are very different, but they have similar colors, so they can be compatible. Also, the same thing with text. Left part is compatible, and this is one font family, and right part is random fonts. That looks strange, and you should be careful and I recommend to use only fonts from the single font family. Also, what do you think about these two icons? Are they compatible? Can they be in a scene in one presentation? Okay, probably they can be, but you can make it much better if you use the same style. And there are some libraries with icons, and you can choose one set of icons and use icons only from this exact set. Then we go to expressiveness. It's about how you deliver your idea with your content. And for example, this is two different images for teacher, but they are very different, and there are many kinds of teachers. So you need to express the unique emotion that you want to have in your presentation. And this is also the same with fonts. Some fonts are very expressive and very unique, but you should be aware of these characteristics of fonts and try to use calm and unexpressive if you want to just put text on your slide. But some expressiveness is not the main thing. You need consistency, and what is consistency is, I can explain you by using my own structure of the slide. I have header, lines of text, and highlighted line of text. This is very simple. I use it on every slide, and you can easily understand what's happening. But probably I can make it much more beautiful, aesthetic, and yes, this may look better, but it is from another presentation, and you probably will lose your attention and understanding what this means when you're looking at these slides that suddenly appears during my presentation. So try to use the same time for similar objects and never do very unique objects. Alignment, basically it means just align everything. And even this slide, this text is aligned vertically. I have vertical written, and you can align your text, not only text, by vertical, horizontal lines and line height. Let's see an example. This is a formula from educational materials about price-earnings ratio, and there are a lot of vertical lines here, and also horizontal lines seems odd, and you have hard time to read it. So we can align it better, but it looks strange that price earnings have these two lines of text. We can use the space more, and we have less things to align. Everything seems to be more aligned, but why you need to duplicate these price earnings? You can get rid of this, and one line don't need to be aligned with another line, so it's much more simple. So use these 4 things to make good style, and let's go to the content. Basically, there are 3 types of content, and let's start with text. For text, everything is very simple. You need to follow these 4 rules one by one. First, you need to highlight your ideas when you want to deliver a message. Then you need to divide them into separate bullet points. Then minimize punctuation. For example, these dots on the first and last bullets are not needed on the short text. And you can shorten them by the single minimal object that can deliver your message. And probably it may be only one word. And also there are some rules for code, showing code in presentation. And these rules are very simple, and there are good examples on Codeware. So you should probably visit it. I'll put the link later. Let's go to images. Can you guess what's bad with this image? Okay, probably it is obvious or not. You have bad label on McDonald's, and it should look like this because the image was reflected. And I would not recommend to reflect any image. For these kinds of images, it may be obvious, but for this, it may not. And some technical things that are reflected are not visible for non-professionals, but professionals can easily understand what is wrong, and that will look strange and make your presentation cheaper. And this image right here is beautiful by itself, but it makes this presentation cheaper because you can align it better. I recommend to align images at least on 3 parts of your slide. Also, you can, it looks random that the image takes certain part of the slide. I recommend to use it thirds of the slide, 1/3 of the slide, or you can combine it with other images or text, and you have more place for text in this case. Also, you can divide it on half, and this will look better than just random alignment. And this is example from my previous presentation. Yes, it is not aligned on the center and on the third. It can look better, yes. But what I wanted to tell you, that it could look like this, and never do slides where someone looks on the right side of your slide, because it will the audience will easily lose focus, and it's very hard to see the image and read the text. You need to choose at least one and try to focus on this. I could probably do this, but in this case, Gustav Jan suddenly tries to smoke with right hand and wears a ring on the right hand, and probably it's not Gustav Jan anymore. Then screenshots. It is images, and I would recommend to make any data on your screenshot as large as possible. And this is a bad example because you have you need to read a lot, and a very small font is hard to read. So basically, I wanted to show this, that Google can easily highlight you plan to make a cool presentation, but it is hard to see it from this screenshot. And also, I would not recommend to put any screenshots that are not of sites or applications that are not popular, because probably never ever have seen this AdWords application, and you as a speaker want to deliver one simple message. For example, you want to highlight some chart data, and you don't need a screenshot for that. And speaking of images, you can use a lot of resources to find the images, and it's much easier for free sites, but sometimes you cannot find good content, and you need to license something, and you need to select your image carefully, and sometimes you need to pay for the images, and I recommend to not to use images with watermarks because they make your presentation look cheaper. Let's go to diagrams. This is Anscombe's quartet. This is 4 sets of data that are statistically identical. And you cannot say anything by looking at this table, but actually these sets of data are very different. They are like from different worlds, and then they need to be analyzed differently, and you need to show and assign different things. And I would not recommend to use tables for your presentation. Always try to use diagrams to show something. This is an example of pie chart diagram, and it is very bad example. First, you need to see the number, then legend, then return to a pie chart and analyze the size of this pie. Probably it can be better by using semantic colors, like, oh, banana is yellow, but it will not work. It will not solve all the problems. What will solve some problems is if you get rid of your legend. You can put your content right on the diagram. But also, I don't recommend to use pie chart diagram. They show nothing, and you have hard time to read them. It's much better to do it with bar charts and with the same data, but different visualization. You can see much more and more details. Also, I not recommend to use default settings from applications like Microsoft Excel. You need to set it very precisely to achieve a good result. There are a lot of unnecessary things in these tools, and there are some online applications that do much better than Microsoft Excel. And this is an example of how it may look if you get rid of different things. Emojis are not necessary. They are decoration, so they should be, you should try to get rid of them too. This is an example of most in-demand languages, and it's hard to show this diagram on the presentation because you need the audience need to read a lot of data, and your idea basically is much simpler than showing a lot of data. For example, you need to just show top 3, and this may look very bold and simple. So try to reduce all the noise, and only one message should be on your diagrams. And speaking of tables, this is an example where you can try to deliver good news about your application that goes from version 1 to version 1.1, 1.2, and the load times are different, but it's very hard for your audience to process this data, and your message should be much more simple. For example, you can use colors in your table, and it's better to highlight bad things with red and good things with green. But there are some people that cannot see the difference between red and green. So it's much better to use single color and color gradient for your information. And this is much more simple to understand. And you can see how version 1 goes to version 1.2. And also you don't need any numbers here. This is much easier to understand basic idea, not numbers. And the diagrams that are based on the time intervals, need to contain larger fonts and enough to read. And also you need to show it one by one. It is much more simple to focus your audience on something, and it is hard to focus your audience on this. So try to make everything simple and state only one idea. Let's speak about emphasis. This is a header or the actual header from news portal. And this is about plastic pollution. And here's the image that can illustrate this header. Probably it is more focused on the emotions that you experience while you are on vacation and you have bad vacation. But you can focus on the dirtiness or probably on the money side of this header. But this is semantic things. And I wanted to add some technical things that can help you to make more emphasis. First is contrast. These two images are similar, but you can use contrast to highlight something. For example, you can make them different with different colors. So first suddenly becomes more it catches your attention and seems fun, and second seems sad. For example, this is the advertisement where you use color to catch your attention, the audience attention, and you can see this powerful processor highlighted with blue. And for this diagram, the contrast can be easily used. For example, if you want to highlight that your language is Java is the best and the most important in the industry. And this message is much more clear when showing three similar diagrams. Second thing is composition. And for example, I can rebuild this slide to look like this. And in terms of composition, it looks much prettier, and the eye, because the eye travels from this from Gustav Jan to the header, then to content and to his name, and back to the image. This is called composition triangle. And if you create such things, they catch the eye of your viewer, and it looks in the image slide look more pleasant. And also the important thing is symmetry. Anything that is symmetric looks cheaper and more simpler than asymmetric. And also you have hard time to make composition triangles with symmetric things, and you have hard time to read this text. So it's much better to use asymmetric compositions. And also animation. It is good to emphasize something. For example, you can highlight this line of text, but it will do nothing because you can highlight it with color. And probably it will be more useful in these time diagrams. You can add new blocks with animation, and it will focus your audience on the event, and it's much easier to speak about this thing. But you need to do it carefully and don't try too much with animation. For example, things like this are easily accessible for any presentation tool, and it will look strange. For example, things like this. They are cool, but they don't help you to deliver a message. But this burning animation can help you in such a situation where you can show a problem and show how you get rid of this problem. So satisfying. So let's go to conclusions. First, your style should exist and should be consistent. Second, you need to select visuals according to what do you want to deliver. Some visuals can be very clear and deliver your message, and some can be more emotional and secondary to accompany your main argument. Then try to make an emphasis and build your slides where you have enough content to prove something and main things are highlighted and the eye of your viewer catched well. And also the tool is not important. You can use whatever tool you want, and some tools are good for very detailed aligning, like Figma, for example, and some tools like the Keynote or PowerPoint are not that good at aligning things, but they are cool at throwing a lot of slides with same type. Also, take your time. In order to create a good presentation, you should make an effort to make every slide look good. The style is not so simple. You need a lot of work to make your content look beautiful. So I don't want to tell that beautiful presentation is easy. You need to put some effort to make it look beautiful. And probably if you know how to make it, and if you train, you make it. You're making it faster than others, but it's not simple. That's all. And I wanted to credit some inspiration guys. All they are professionals in presentation or in visual representation of information. So that's all.